So a nice little tip is to read your customer reviews. It's a really good way to understand the type of language they're using. Quite useful in terms of thinking about what keywords you want to show you for, especially those more sort of top of funnel ones when they're talking about what sort of problems they might be having.
You're listening to the Keep Optimizing podcast to increase your traffic, improve your conversion rates, and grow your profits.
Hello and welcome. I'm Chloe Thomas, the host of this e-commerce marketing focused podcast. If you're not familiar with our format, each month we focus on a different marketing method like email or SEO or Facebook ads, and each week I interview a different expert to explore the latest advice on making it work for you. This month, we're taking on the whole of online advertising, and in each episode, we're exploring the latest advice on a specific channel that you need to know about. Last time, we did a what you need to know right now about Facebook ads and e-commerce with the lovely John Loomer, and this time we're doing the same, but with Google Ads instead. So listen on to find out what's new in Google Ads land, and most importantly, what's working right now. My guests have done so much prep to be spot on and ready for this episode. It's brilliant. They are really getting to the heart of the things you need to know right now. So get ready for your proper I'm now up to speed after I've listened to this Google Ads episode. And make sure you listen right to the end, because at the end, my guests will be sharing some quick fire insider tips to help you maximize the performance of your advertising. And then I'll share my take on it all and give you some ways you can improve things even more. So stay tuned to the end, please. Let me tell you about Leaf. Leaf is a technology and data science company that offers managed performance marketing solutions for high-growth D2C brands, enhancing decision-making and media spend efficiency with Leaf Grow. In a post-attribution era complicated by GA4's revenue under-reporting and Google's third-party cookie phase-out, budget allocation can become a guessing game. Thriving brands now employ advanced conversion tracking, data warehousing, analytics, performance forecasting, cross-channel strategies, and creative execution for better attribution and insights. So prioritising retention and profitable growth requires a solid data and performance marketing strategy. To help you, Leaf is offering you a performance data audit to pinpoint gaps and optimise media spend, promising you smarter decisions and improved ROI across channels, campaigns, creatives and products. Find out more and get your audit at keepopt.com/leaf. That's keepopt.com/LEAF. In this episode, I'm chatting with advertising experts Becky Hopkin and Jonny Hyams. Becky and Jonny have both been on the show before, and this time we get them both in one episode. So our favourite Google Ads experts from advertising agency Digital Gearbox are back again. Hello, Becky.
Hello.
Awesome to have you here. Hello, Jonny.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having us.
Brilliant to catch up with you guys. I was just saying to you before we hit record that my knowledge on Google Ads these days is appalling for someone who used to run an agency. So I'm really looking forward to learning from you guys. But before we get into all of that, how have things been since we last caught up?
Yeah, really good, thanks. We've, as an agency, we're continuing to grow. We made the Google Premier Partner status again this year. So that means we're being recognised in the top 3% in the country, which is a nice accolade. And we also were in the top 50 Great Agencies Growth Index from Agency Hackers. So a few badges to stick on our website. And I know Jonny's doing some really great things with the team as well, aren't you, Jonny?
I am. I've been super busy, even if it's just keeping up with all the changes to Google Ads over the last year. I swear, I've been doing this since 2019. Becky, you've been doing it a bit longer than me. I swear it's changing faster and faster every year.
I totally get what you're saying. Because we've just gone through quickly what you're going to be telling us about, and have we managed to fit that into one episode? I'm not sure, but guys listening, we are going to try and do it for you. But also, it's one of the reasons why I joked about not really knowing what's going on. I'm consciously choosing not to try and keep up at the moment because it's befuddling, which is, why we're putting this episode together, to quickly bring everyone up to a non-befuddled status and find out what's great and what's not. So, Jonny, what's new? What's been going on we need to know about?
Quite a few things. Let's start with my favourite, which is consent mode. Consent mode is really, really important for any advertiser advertising in the EEA at the moment because Google brought in a deadline March of this year, so a couple of months ago, when consent mode had to be applied by. So what is consent mode? Consent mode allows users to accept or reject cookies. It's the banner that pops up when you load up a website. It sends a signal to Google to know whether or not it should be tracking those users. So if those users reject cookies, what it means is those users can't be remarketed to, they can't go into an audience for you to target. You also can't track any conversions. So if they go ahead and take an action on your website like purchasing, you can't track that within Google Ads. This is important for a couple of reasons. First of all, I suppose there's an ethical argument in that it allows people to control how the data is used. That is really, really important. But B, it obviously has a big impact on how advertisers like us can target users and how we measure the success of our campaign. So what's happened recently is Google's released Consent Mode V2. What that allows is conversion modeling. So where a user rejects cookies, rejects being tracked, Google can still use its AI to try and model that and try and attribute that to the campaign where it thinks it came from. It won't be completely accurate because, again, it's using AI, but it allows you to regain some of those measurement signals you've lost. The March deadline that apply to advertising in the EEA. That was a deadline that meant if you didn't implement consent mode for anybody advertising in the EEA prior to March, Google would just reject, as if all users rejected cookies. So without consent mode, you had no access to conversion tracking or remarketing. Or so Google suggested that was going to be the case. I don't know if that's actually happened, but Google has suggested they're now going to be auditing accounts and there will be penalties for advertisers who haven't implemented consent mode.
Wow, that's just thrown up so many questions from me, Jonny. So tell me if these statements are true or false so we can go through them fairly quickly. EEA, we're basically talking Europe, right?
We are, yes. There was a real confusion here around whether or not this applied to the UK as well, because the underlying law this applies to is GDPR, and of course GDPR applies to the UK as well. But obviously, as we all know, the UK left the EU, and therefore the EEA, back in 2019. Google seemed really confused whenever I tried to speak to them about it, about whether or not this law, whether these rules applied to Google. The answer I finally managed to get was yes, it probably does, but the March deadline didn't apply to the UK. So if you advertise in the UK, you can get away with not using consent mode for the time being. However, there will come a point when Google will require consent mode in the UK as well. Again, this is reading between the lines a little bit, because Google does seem really confused about, like many people, confused about the UK's relationship to Europe.
Yeah, and let's try and define Europe. That's another one can get very, very confused about. Okay, cool. So this is about Europe, probably the UK. We will find out in the fullness of time. And this is about Google keeping up with the legislation so they don't get into trouble, and what we're having to do to make sure they don't get into trouble. So this is going to affect the tracking and the data we get, but it doesn't affect whether Google shows our ads to the people who've said no to the cookies on our website. So we could be doing standard search advertising, not the remarketing type, sending through traffic that is converting, but it's not being attributed because someone's turned off the cookies. And if you haven't got the cookie banner in place, you're not getting any of that data. So if you've suddenly seen your conversions fall off a cliff, it could be a technical thing, not actually a performance thing.
That's wonderfully summed up.
Cool. Okay, I'll take that, because I know we've got loads to go on, so I'm going to go on to the next one. What else has happened new recently? I think, Becky, you're going to take this next piece.
Yeah, so I wanted to kind of pick up on an upgrade to the discovery ads that I spoke about when I was last on your podcast, Chloe. So they've been upgraded into demand gen campaigns now, and that happened at the tail end of last year. And essentially the difference is that you can now include short form videos, carousels, portrait and square image versions. So basically it's Google's answer to Meta ads. Trying to keep up the competition there. Now, obviously I gave loads of useful tips about discovery campaigns, which still apply, thankfully. So you can go back to that podcast, which Jonny reminded me was 2021. I didn't realize it was that long ago.
Time flies.
time does fly, but go back and some of those tips are still relevant. What we've learned at Digital Gearbox is that we've seen the demand gen campaign variant work really well for remarketing purposes. So a bit like, again, the discovery campaigns. If it's a campaign type that you've not yet tried, it's well worth doing a little bit of testing, particularly with your remarketing audiences, assuming that you're still collecting them with the consent mode conundrum, and giving them a go.
Got you. And that is the bit where Google is showing your ads not on the search piece, but they're showing it. Is it YouTube as well as random websites around the place?
Yeah, it's Google's Discover network, which includes YouTube and also Gmail.
Yeah, so my tip with demand gen campaigns is if you are running meta ads at the moment, take your best performing creatives there, your best videos, your best images, your best carousels, replicate them in Google demand gen campaigns and see how they perform there.
Love it. Top tip. Anything else that's new that we need to know about?
Plenty, Chloe, plenty. So there's a brand hot off the press new experience from Google that's starting to pop up in some accounts. Jonny said he saw it today. It's called the Conversational Experience, which essentially is an AI chatbot, not box, in the back end that is there to help you create your campaign. So you can enter your destination URL, tell it a little bit about your business, and what it will do is spit out some keywords for you and even write your ads, which it can be useful for new advertisers who have no experience in creating Google ads before, and perhaps it could speed up the campaign planning process. But obviously, like with all AI, it's early days, and from what we've seen so far, what it spits out in terms of keyword choice and ad copy won't always be great. But as with other AI technology, I think it's a really great starting point.
So worth a play, but don't assume it's going to create the best ad copy ever.
Absolutely not.
Okay, cool. What else is new, Becky?
Also, in regards to the ads themselves, single ad headlines. So historically, search ads always used to show 2 and even sometimes 3 headlines, whereas now they're going with the less is more. And Google often only show a single headline with only 30 characters. So you've now lost 60 additional characters that we used to be able to play with. So you really need to rethink how you're rewriting headlines. Historically, you'd have your keyword in headline 1 and your benefits or a call to action in the second headline. You can't do that now because that single headline is probably only going to pop up. So how can you sell your business in just 30 characters is now the challenge.
Easy, so easy. Or not.
Easy peasy. You can use that conversational experience to help you perhaps there.
Yes, maybe that's where the AI pays off. Anything else that's new, Becky?
Yep, there is now Performance Max for marketplaces. So you can now advertise your product listings directly from a third-party marketplace. They've only listed Amazon at the moment. And you can do that via Performance Max campaign. So you don't need to set up a Google Merchant Center account anymore. You can just pull it directly from that third-party marketplace.
Which has to be great news if you have lots of listings on Amazon and whatever other marketplaces they add to promote, but is going to massively increase the number of people bidding, presumably, as they push this with more ads for more products going through. So it might be not so great for the others, maybe.
Yeah, it's a great way to get more traffic to those listings, but you're going to be potentially competing against your own site on Google if you're doing traditional Google ads, and also you've got the risk of paying for a click to go to a website where they might end up buying from someone else because there's many options. So an interesting opportunity to test it, but I think you got to be wary with the fact that you're not necessarily going to get the same results that you might be getting with your Google campaign.
No, and super clever of Amazon. Why should they spend the money on Google when they can make us do it?
Exactly.
Not meaning to be cynical, but we are talking about Amazon and Google here.
Correct.
I think that's all our new things. Anything either of you wanted to add on the new stuff before we move on to the super important what's actually working section?
Jonny, did you want to talk about the weird one we saw yesterday?
Yeah, just a quick one. So this is something I actually saw yesterday, which is I did a Google and an ad appeared and it looked very different to your typical text ad. So you think of your normal search ad, it looks like an organic search listing, doesn't it? Disappears above the organic listings. But what these search ads looked like actually were more like shopping ads. They were like a rectangular card, a portrait card, no image in there, just your text. And instead of being stacked one on top of another, they were side by side. So Google's clearly testing these different ad formats. I haven't seen them announce anything about this. So clearly it's like quite an early test for them. They're testing to see whether or not it gets more clicks compared to the typical search ads. If it does, I imagine they'll roll it out more widely. If it doesn't, you'll probably never hear about it ever again.
One for us all to watch out for then. Cool, loving that. Right. Jonny, you have your head deep in Google Ads, running the ads for the clients all the time. So we've talked about what's new, but what we really want to know is what's actually working. So what's working right now? What's worth spending our budget on and playing around with and testing?
Yeah, I mean, the very short answer is generally AI. So smart bidding is big. When I was here a year ago, Chloe, I think we talked about AI, smart bidding then. That's still very true. And I think it's become more important, if anything, because the way Google matches keywords to search queries has become increasingly loose over time. It's allowing keywords to match to wider and wider search queries. So this has made smart bidding more important than ever before, which means it's even more important that you are choosing the right strategy and working with it in the right way in order to deliver the best results possible. So smart bidding, really, really big right now.
The way the algorithm is embracing AI to do the work for us, to put it super simply, like we're seeing on Facebook, is equally relevant here on Google. So smart bidding, allowing them to do the work, Google to do the work for us, is actually paying off. And yes, as anyone who listens to the last episode I did with Jonny, you'll hear my skepticism about Google's algorithms in full flow. I'm slowly getting over it. Jonny, what you're saying is I need to get over it even more and give them the power.
Yes, but do have some skepticism. Do still review what you're showing for. Do still make sure it's working for you, because ultimately AI, it isn't thinking, it's just seeing in patterns and then trying to recreate them. So you still need that human element to make sure it's being steered in the right direction.
Now, I reckon there's got to be more than one thing that is working right now. So what else is great to do right now?
Yeah, so the next thing sort of really feeds into the smart bidding, which is sort of simpler campaign structures. The way we used to do Google Ads is we would have lots of campaigns, lots of ad groups, all very segmented, so we could really have very tight control. But as we were saying, we sort of moved away from that sort of manual control. We're giving up some control to the robots, and the AI needs data to work effectively. So when you have your campaigns very segmented, very split out, you are splitting your conversions across all these different campaigns, which is preventing the smart bidding from optimizing effectively. By simplifying and consolidating your campaigns, you're having more conversion signals within a single campaign, which allows the AI to optimize more effectively and therefore allows you to hit your targets more effectively.
Got it. So really give the power over to the algorithm by going wide rather than going super focused. So it's a big shift in how we manage it, isn't it? It's a big change to behavior if you're managing a Google Ads campaign.
It is. And if I can double down on that, my next thing is Performance Max, which is the ultimate in terms of automated campaigns. We're seeing Performance Max work really, really well. It often outcompetes standard shopping campaigns, although not always. There are times when standard shopping does do just as well, or sometimes even better than PMax. But Performance Max is making up an increasingly large part of the accounts we are managing. We often like to run it feed only. So what that means is Google designed Performance Max to allow it to place ads anywhere a Google ad can appear, which includes places like YouTube and Gmail and search and the entire Google Display Network, which covers literally millions of different websites. We like to run it feed only instead, which forces it to spend almost the entire budget on shopping placements instead, which tend to be the best performers. So we've wrestled some control back from Performance Max there. We also like to exclude the brand name, your brand name from the campaign as well, which was really difficult to do a year ago, but they've made it much easier now. So it allows you to, again, to segment your generic traffic, people searching generic terms from those searching specifically for your brand. It allows you to scale up more effectively because you're not allowing the campaign to just binge on your own brand name, which are the easy conversions to get. Another quick tip for using Performance Max, actually, whilst we're on it, is there is a really smart bloke called Mike Rhodes who created a Google Ads script that allows you to break open the black box that is Performance Max, and it allows you to see how Google is spending your money on all these different placements, search and video and shopping, and how they're each performing. And that can help you make an informed decision whether or not you want to go feed only, or if you want to allow it to show ads everywhere, and where you should be putting your focus. If you're seeing video performing really well for you, you should be putting more money into producing good videos to use with it. So whilst the general message here is, yeah, we're going heavy into AI and automation and giving up control, actually with Performance Max, the most automated campaign, we're starting to pull that control away from Google again.
Like there's the pendulum swings. Jonny, that amazing script you mentioned, could you send me a link to that so I can make sure it's in the show notes for everybody listening to this, so they can get their hands on it too and find out more about it? Because we're definitely not going to dive deep into a script right now, everybody, but we'll get you the link. And then you mentioned that you're still running Performance Max alongside standard shopping, so that's still worth doing for everybody to run both?
No, test it. The way Performance Max works, if you run it alongside a standard shopping campaign, the standard shopping campaign will just shut off. Google will just give priority to the PMax campaign. So you want to make sure you have different products in each. That's one way of having both running side by side. The other way to do it, something we've been trying out and we've seen work really well, is excluding the brand name from the PMax campaign but allowing it in the shopping campaign, where you have more control over how much you're spending.
Oh, cunning. A couple of extra little strategies there for everybody. Anything else in the world of what's working that we should be doing right now?
I've got one more for you, which is what you should carry on using, which is exact match keywords. Google has gone really hard on broad match keywords, which allows it to match your keyword to a far greater number of different search queries. Of course, Google likes this. It lets it spend more of your money. A few years ago, broad match was awful. If you used it, I would laugh at you. It just wasted money. It didn't deliver results. Broad match nowadays actually works quite well. And because of that, Google's very loudly and very aggressively pushing advertisers to use broad match and only broad match. And it's sort of acting like exact match keywords are for the dinosaurs and they just don't work anymore, and you lose out if you use exact match. Exact match does still have its place if what you care about is the efficiency of your ads. It will allow you to get a better return on your ad spend, whereas broad match can work quite nicely is if what you care about is the volume of traffic and conversions you're bringing through, but it won't be as good when it comes to getting that return on ad spend.
But we're definitely not saying ignore broad or ignore exact. They've got their own places to play with, and it's worth having a go with them both. Awesome.
100%.
Loving all this. I think you've both successfully cut us through all the noise, all the hype to work out what we really need to care about with Google Ads at the moment. Is there anything we've missed before we head into the insider tips? Anything else you guys want to add?
There's a lot more, but it's all nitty gritty stuff that if you're not spending day in, day out in Google Ads, you probably don't need to know about.
Let's leave that intriguing item there. And anyone who wants that, I reckon go find Jonny on LinkedIn and see if he'll share. Okay, cool. Becky, Jonny, thank you so much for letting us pick your brains on the important must-know stuff about Google Ads right now. Listeners, remember to stay tuned right to the end so you don't miss out on Becky and Jonny's insider tips on advertising and my suggestions for more free resources to help you improve things even further. Let me tell you about Leaf. Leaf is a technology and data science company that offers managed performance marketing solutions for high-growth D2C brands, enhancing decision-making and media spend efficiency with Leaf Grow. In a post-attribution era complicated by GA4's revenue underreporting and Google's third-party cookie phase-out, budget allocation can become a guessing game. Thriving brands now employ advanced conversion tracking, data warehousing, analytics, performance forecasting, cross-channel strategies, and creative execution for better attribution and insights. So prioritising retention and profitable growth requires a solid data and performance marketing strategy. To help you, Leaf is offering you a performance data audit to pinpoint gaps and optimize media spend, promising you smarter decisions and improved ROI across channels, campaigns, creatives, and products. Find out more and get your audit at keepopt.com/leaf. That's keepopt.com/LEAF. Okay, Becky, Jonny, so far we've gone deep into the world of Google Ads in 2024. Now you get to wow us with your insider knowledge about the whole of advertising. So for the following questions, your answer can be anything to do with advertising, which of course includes everything we've already been talking about. So are you ready for this?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, let's start with newbie advice. Becky, if we've inspired someone to take their first step, what do they need to know to give themselves the best chance of success?
So for starters, they need to know their commercial numbers. They need to know how much they are willing to pay to get that sale. So much of the kind of automated bidding now, you can put in your targets, and if you don't know what those numbers are, you're going to struggle to give Google the information it's going to need to optimize your campaign to get you the results you need to be profitable. So that's kind of 101. I would also say it's so complicated now. Whilst they're trying to simplify it with all these automated things, as we've kind of spoken about, there's many little nuances and little differences between campaign types, and it really isn't easy. And I would really recommend you need to have a base knowledge of Google Ads. You need to either spend the time learning it yourself or outsource to an agency. Don't just go in on a whim and think I'm going to set up a campaign and let it do its thing and it's going to work. You need to either invest the time to train yourself up or give it to someone else who has already done that.
Yep, I will second that advice. Used to run a Google Ads agency. I would not set up my own campaigns anymore. But I wouldn't do it. I get Becky and Jonny to do it for me, fundamentally, because it's so easy. You're basically just writing Google a check if you don't know what you're doing. So yeah, I think you're spot on with that, Becky. Love it. Okay, Jonny, over to you for this one. Now, once you've started, of course, you've got to keep optimizing. So what's your favorite way to improve performance?
So a nice little tip is to read your customer reviews. It's a really good way to understand the type of language they're using. Quite useful in terms of thinking about what keywords you want to show you for, especially those more sort of top of funnel ones when they're talking about what sort of problems they might be having. Useful for that. Even more useful for understanding how they describe what they like about your product and what they find useful about it. That's a really useful way, really useful to help you write your ad copy, especially when, as we were saying earlier, you have 30 characters in which to sell yourself. Look at your customer reviews, understand what they love about you.
Good advice across the whole marketing suite. But yeah, when you've only got 30 characters for the headline and limited characters for the rest of it, absolute no-brainer to look at that. Love that advice. If someone listening wants to learn more, is there one cheap or free resource you would recommend? And Becky, I think you're going to take this one.
So I'm going to name a couple if that's all right, Chloe. First of all, I would say direct information from Google themselves. There is the whole Google certification program, which is free, with very helpful how-to guides on kind of the fundamentals of Google search, display, and shopping for AI. They're all completely free of charge, and you can get a nice certificate at the end of them. There's also the PPC News newsletter on LinkedIn, and there's separate ones there for Google that you can sign up to. You get a weekly newsletter of everything new that's happening, which is a great way to keep up to date. And then our own content, of course. So we're doing a monthly video series that's about to be launched. So do check us out on Digital Gearbox and check in for our latest content.
Awesome. There's 3 brilliant recommendations there. Thank you very much, Becky. Lots for us all to get stuck into. Finally, Jonny, crystal ball time. What's coming up in the next 6 to 12 months that we should be getting ready for, please?
I've got 2, actually. So one is the obvious one based on what we've been discussing today. More automation, more AI. It's coming. It's going to come faster and faster. So you need to start thinking about how you work with this technology. The other one is more competition on Google from Temu.com. They are very aggressive on Google, Facebook as well, but yeah, on Google. If you look in your auction insights on your shopping campaigns, which lets you see who you're competing with, you'll almost certainly see Temu in there, and they are pumping more and more money into it. They don't seem to care about making a profit, they just want to spend money. And the side effect is it's pushing up the average cost per click because there's more competition. They are dirt cheap, so there's a risk to your conversion rate as well if they're out competing with you on price.
I love the Temu ad. I caught Temu advertising on the keyword Royal Mail the other day with an ad that was, I just looked it up. It says Royal.mail, Royal Mail, United Kingdom, only today, enjoy Royal Mail, up to 90% off your purchase. That's how deep, everybody, they are going right now on the advertising. So I love that point. I think that's such a good one. Thank you, Jonny.
A quick tip around that, actually. Temu may use your brand name in their ads, as they're using Royal Mails there. They shouldn't be doing that. So if they do, there's a form you can fill out to get them to stop.
Which is well worth doing, because if they're pushing up the price on your brand bidding, that's really annoying, as well as the fact they're clearly going to be dragging your customers off. Awesome advice, as always. Brilliant to have you on the show again. We're nearly at the end, so how can listeners get in contact and find out more about you guys and Digital Gearbox, please?
So the best place to go is our website, digitalgearbox.co.uk. From there, we actually offer a link where you can book a consultation with the team. So if you've got any questions about what we've spoken about today, or want to talk about your account and get a second pair of eyes on it, we'd be delighted to have a look with you and to see if we can help.
Awesome. Go do that, everybody. Becky, Jonny, thank you so much for being on the show again. It's always great catching up with you. And this has really, truly been a quick catch up on everything you need to know about Google Ads. So I really appreciate all the work you've done pulling it together. So thank you so much for being here.
No problem. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
There you have it. What's working right now on Google Ads and the new stuff you need to know about. Quick updates on those things. Some of them you may want to dive more deeply into. Some of them you may now know that you can just ignore and carry on with. That may give you an amazing list to go to your ad agency and go, are we doing all these things? In which case, please do that. Why not send them a copy of the episode to get them to have a listen? You can get those links to all the things we discussed, the full transcript of the episode and important notes more at keepoptimizing.com. You can use our special director episode short link to find it too. Just put keepopt.com/episode number into the URL bar and you'll be redirected straight to the right episode page. And when you get to the website, you can also add yourself to our email list so you don't miss out on any of the other things I share to help you improve your business. And if you want to hear those other episodes that Jonny and Becky referred to, where we go deep into various elements of ads with the two of them, just go to keepopt.com/Google Ads to find all the Google Ads juicy content. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Keep Optimizing podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, then we did a similar approach to Facebook ads last time. So if you want this style of quick update to get you up to speed on what's happening in Facebook ads land, especially with how it applies to e-commerce businesses, then scroll one episode up your feed and check that out right now. And please do tell your fellow marketers about the show, because I want to help as many of you as possible to improve the performance of your e-commerce marketing. And so much has been changing in advertising land at the moment. I think you will all find these particular episodes really, really interesting. Next week, something a little bit different, still advertising, but something a little bit different. Have a great week and make sure you listen to the next episode so I can help you to keep optimizing your marketing.
Access everything Keep Optimizing at keepoptimizing.com. That's with an S, not a Z.
Don't forget to request your performance data audit from Leaf. Go to keepopt.com/Leaf now.